Building permit secrets that save time and money. So you're ready to build a house in Australia, or at least daydreaming hard enough that your Pinterest boards are filing noise complaints. Before a single shovel hits dirt, there's one piece of paper, often a PDF, that stands between you and an expensive stop work order. The building permit, called by slightly different names in different states, but always the legal green light that says, yes, you can actually build that. In this video, I'll explain what a building permit is, how it's different from planning approval, who issues it, what documents you need, how long approval can take, owner-builder rules, inspections and occupancy certificates, and the common mistakes that cost people months and thousands of dollars. Stick with me to the end and you'll avoid those traps and maybe save enough for nicer tiles. If you've ever built, renovated, or wrangled council paperwork, drop your war stories in the comments. We learn together here. Why this matters before you build. You cannot legally start most house construction in Australia without an approved building permit, or whatever your state calls the equivalent building approval. Building without one can mean fines, demolition orders, or being refused insurance and finance drawdowns, plus nasty delays when you try to sell. Getting it right up front protects your budget, your timeline, your safety, and your resale value. So yes, paperwork is boring, but so is paying a builder to sit around while you chase missing documents. Let's make boring work for you. First, what is a building permit? A building permit is formal written approval that your proposed building work, new home, extension, major renovation, meets the technical building regulations that apply in your state or territory. Think of it as the license to build. It confirms that your plans comply with structural, health, safety, energy efficiency, and amenity standards referenced through the National Construction Code, the NCC, and your local regulations. When the permit is issued, it normally lists conditions, required inspections at key stages, and deadlines to start and finish the work. No permit, no lawful construction. Simple idea, complex reality. Let's unpack that. Building permit versus planning approval. Two totally different gatekeepers. One of the biggest confusions. Planning approval deals with how land can be used and how the building fits the neighborhood, height limits, setbacks, heritage overlays, bushfire or flood controls, neighborhood character, and so on. Building permit deals with how the structure is designed and built, whether it will stand up, resist termites, meet energy standards, include fire separation where needed, and comply with the NCC. In many projects you need both approvals in the correct order. Planning first, then building. Some small or code-compliant projects use fast-track pathways that combine or shortcut some steps, but you still need the right approvals before work starts. Don't mix them up. People lose months having to redo applications because planning came back with required changes after the building paperwork was lodged. Who actually issues the building permit? Here's where Australia's state systems come into play. In most places, building permits or building approvals, building consents, or construction certificates are issued by qualified building surveyors or certifiers. They may work privately for council or be selected by you, not usually by your builder, at least not without your written authority. Their job is to review your plans for compliance with building regulations and the NCC. They set mandatory inspection stages, footings, slab, frame, final, depending on your project. In some states, local government remains the permit authority that formally issues the permit even when a private surveyor certifies design compliance. Bottom line, you as the property owner are responsible for making sure the permit is in place before construction begins, even if your builder or designer lodges the paperwork. Your responsibility doesn't go away even if someone else lodges the paperwork. Large project home builders often include permit handling as part of their service. Smaller builders might leave it to you or to your designer. Either way, the law generally sees the property owner as the one on the hook. Never assume the builder handled it, unless you've seen the permit and it reflects your site, scope, and correct builder details. Make sure any contract clearly states who is obtaining the permit, and that they have written authority if doing it on your behalf. If you sign something as an owner-builder by mistake, you can inherit legal responsibilities you were never planning to take on, plus insurance headaches. Read everything before signing. When do you need a building permit? For a standard new detached house. Almost always. Additions that affect structure? Almost always. Major renovations that remove load-bearing walls, extend the footprint, change roofing, add levels, relocate wet areas, or add a deck over certain heights? Generally yes. Pools deeper than certain depths, garages, large sheds, retaining walls over designated heights, and structural pergolas can also trigger permits in many jurisdictions. Even demolition can require approval. On the other hand, minor non-structural interior cosmetic work, painting, replacing fittings, minor cabinetry often doesn't. Each state has its own exemption thresholds by size, height, cost, or risk category, so always check early. If in doubt, ask your local council or a licensed surveyor certifier. 5 minutes now beats thousands later. Pre-permit homework. Cite realities that affect approval before anyone can properly assess your building plans. You need site intelligence. Expect to gather recent title and lot boundaries, a scaled site plan showing distances to boundaries and other structures, soil tests or geotechnical data to design footings, wind classification particularly in cyclone regions, bushfire attack level in bushfire-prone areas, termite risk, flood or landslip overlays, existing easements, and sewer or septic constraints. Energy efficiency modeling is required. Some areas need stormwater management plans. If you're rebuilding after bushfire or flood, additional resilience rules may kick in. A good designer or surveyor will help you flag these early so you're not redesigning after submission. Energy efficiency and emerging standards. Historically, many homes were assessed to a 6-star NatHERS energy rating minimum. Updates linked to newer NCC additions are lifting performance. Some jurisdictions are transitioning to 7-star minimums plus whole-of-home efficiency measures. Always confirm what applies at the time your permit application is lodged, because adopting a new NCC version can change insulation, glazing, and orientation assumptions and budgets. Document checklist. You'll likely need exact paperwork varies, but most residential building permit applications include completed application form, title documents and evidence of ownership, scaled architectural drawings, site plan, floor plans, elevations, sections, specifications and materials schedule, structural engineering computations and footing slab design tied to soil report, stormwater and drainage design, sometimes plumbing layouts, energy efficiency report, NatHERS certificate, bushfire attack level report where relevant, termite management detail if in risk zone, proof of builder registration or owner-builder authority, evidence of mandatory insurance or home warranty cover above cost limits, planning permit or evidence it isn't required, applicable levies, fees, payment receipt, submit clean, complete documents. Half the approval delays in residential building come down to missing or inconsistent paperwork. The building permit application. Step by step 1. Confirm planning status. Check whether a planning permit, development application, or zoning check is required for your house. If yes, obtain approval before or in parallel as allowed. 2. Engage a building surveyor certifier early. They'll advise what's needed for a compliant submission and flag state-specific requirements. 3. Assemble documentation and specialist reports. Engineering, energy, bill, soil, septic, etc. 4. Confirm who lodges. Designer, builder. If someone acts for you, give written authority. 5. Lodge application and pay fees, levies. State forms differ. 6. Assessment and requests for information. The certifier checks compliance. If info is missing, you'll get an RFI. Respond fast. 7. Permit issued. You receive written approval with permit number, approved plans, conditions, mandatory inspection stages, and start-finish deadlines. 8. Notify builder and display permit. Builder must work strictly to the approved plans. Changes usually require a permit amendment. 9. Book inspections as required. Footings, slab, frame, waterproofing, final, etc. 10. Completion and occupancy final inspection certificate. Required before legally occupying. State and territory snapshot differences. New South Wales, 2 main approval paths for houses. A full development application through council or the fast-track complying development certificate if your design meets all code criteria. CDC approvals can be issued in as little as around 10-20 business days when documentation is correct. These often take several weeks to months. NSW makes heavy use of accredited certifiers. Owner-builders need permits for work over relatively low value thresholds. Extra training kicks in above higher values. Victoria, planning permit may be required depending on zoning overlays. You always need a building permit to build a house. You, not your builder, appoint the building surveyor. Never sign as an owner-builder unless you hold a certificate of consent for work over the cost threshold. Building permits include mandatory inspection stages and commence-by dates. Domestic projects commonly must start within 12 months and finish within a further period unless extended. Queensland, you need a building development approval, often called a building approval or permit, before starting most domestic building work. Approvals can come from council or a licensed private building certifier. Certifiers are required to keep inspection records. Owners can request copies. Staged inspections are set out under the building regulation. Western Australia, 2 application types. Certified BA1, submit with a certificate of design compliance from a registered building surveyor. Permit authority has a short statutory turnaround, about 10 business days. Uncertified BA2 for certain residential classes. Council assesses compliance then issues permit, with a longer statutory window, about 25 business days. Planning approval may be required first. Bushfire, energy and home indemnity insurance above value thresholds are common requirements. South Australia, development approval can involve separate planning consent and building consent. Building consent checks your plans against building rules. Some development types require additional land division consent. Certificates of occupancy are required for many new habitable buildings. Tasmania, planning and building approvals are separate systems. Building work is categorized by risk. Some low-risk jobs are exempt. Medium risk may be notifiable. Higher risk residential work requires a building permit issued through council after assessment by a licensed building surveyor. Bushfire and landslip codes can link planning and building requirements. Owner-builders must engage a licensed building surveyor and obtain a permit. Proof of training, insurance and a white card are typical. If you're in the ACT or Northern Territory, broadly similar themes: planning first where required, building approval through certifier authority referencing the NCC, check your local regulator for current forms. How long does it take? It depends on whether you qualify for a fast-track code-based pathway, whether your documentation is complete, whether planning approval is already in place, workload at council or your certifier, whether additional reports are requested. Real-world guideposts. Fast-track code pathways such as New South Wales complying development or Western Australia certified applications can turn around in roughly a couple of weeks when clean. More complex projects that need full planning assessment can run several weeks to a few months. Missing information is the biggest cause of blowouts. Treat statutory maximum days as a clock that pauses if documents are incomplete, so speed is in your hands. What happens after the permit is issued? Don't celebrate too early, your compliance journey just started. The permit or accompanying documentation will specify. Commence by date, you must start works before this expiry. Completion timeframe, finish within period or seek extension. Mandatory inspections: footings, slab, frame, final, plus others like waterproofing in some states. Documents to submit at completion: as-built plans, certificates from engineers, energy compliance sign-off, termite treatment certificates, etc. If you change the design during construction, move windows, change roof pitch, add a deck, you usually need a permit amendment. Doing work that differs from the permitted plans can be an offense and may invalidate insurance. At the end, you or your builder must obtain the final sign-off. Occupancy permit, certificate of final inspection, certificate of occupancy or equivalent. In many places you cannot lawfully move in without it, and lenders may hold back funds until it's issued. Owner-builder rules: read before you sign anything. Romantic idea. We'll build it ourselves and save a fortune. Reality. Each state has strict thresholds, training, insurance and 1 permit per X years rules to stop unlicensed serial builders. Examples. In New South Wales, you need an owner-builder permit if you plan to do or supervise residential building work over a low-cost threshold, with extra training above higher values. You're legally responsible like a builder. In Victoria, domestic work over the threshold requires a certificate of consent before a building surveyor can issue a permit to you as owner-builder. WA requires either a registered builder or approved owner-builder for residential work above set cost levels, along with insurance. Tasmania requires you to own the land, engage a licensed building surveyor, have training, insurance, and evidence like a white card before an owner-builder permit is issued. Before saying "I'll sign as owner-builder to save fees," understand you also take on safety compliance, subcontractor coordination, warranty obligations, and future disclosure if you sell. Fees, levies, insurance, and other money bits. Expect application fees to council or certifier. Building permit levies, for example. Some states collect a percentage based on project cost. Possible state building services levies, surveying fees, engineering and energy reports, bushfire or soil assessments, and mandatory insurance like domestic building insurance, home indemnity above certain contract values, and owner-builder public liability cover. These costs can surprise new home builders. Build them into your budget from day one. Avoiding delays and pain. Lessons from the trenches. Get planning clarity early. Redesigning after a planning knockback wastes months. Use one source of truth for drawings. Mismatched plan versions trigger RFIs. Engage your surveyor certifier at design stage. They'll catch compliance issues early. Don't sign a permit application you haven't read. You might be listed as owner-builder accidentally. Track your commence by date. Permits can lapse. Renewing costs time and money. Book inspections on time. Missed inspections equals tear-out work or compliance headaches. Report design changes immediately. Even just moving a window can require amendment. Keep copies of everything. Some states require record-keeping for years, good for resale disputes. Mild humor break. Don't be that DIY legend who pours a slab on Saturday and emails council on Monday saying, "By the way, we started early." Councils have very tidy, professionally formatted letters that say, "Please remove illegal structure." They use them frequently. Rapid fire FAQ: Can I start clearing the site before my building permit? Light vegetation clearing may be allowed in some cases, but anything that forms part of the building work, like excavation for footings, generally must wait. Ask before you act. Does my builder or I book inspections? Usually the builder notifies the surveyor certifier when each stage is ready. Confirm who's responsible in your contract. What if I change builders mid-project? Notify the surveyor and reissue paperwork. Insurance and permit details may need updating. What's the difference between an occupancy permit and a certificate of final inspection? Depends on your state and building class. Both are end-of-job sign-offs confirming compliance for occupancy or completion. Do small sheds need permits? Size height thresholds vary. Some genuinely exempt, others notify only, others full permit. Quick phone call saves you a compliance letter. I'm overseas, can my designer lodge without me? Often yes, with your written authority and correct appointment of the surveyor. Never leave that blank. Final wrap and call to action: building your Australian home should be exciting, not a paperwork horror film. Remember, planning decides where and what, building permits decide how safely and legally it's built. Get the right professionals, assemble complete documents, respond fast to information requests, track your inspection stages, and don't move in until you've got final sign-off. If you've built or battled red tape, share your experience in the comments. What slowed you down? What saved you money? Your story could help someone else avoid a disaster. If this video helped, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And again, drop your questions and experiences below. Thanks for watching and happy legal building.